Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Haji Vaji Khalsa Vaji Fateh to everyone. Welcome to another session. Coach Gurbani, Ravinder Singh here from Columbus. I'll be reading out the Shabad under consideration today, which is from the Sodar Bani, Asa Mela Pela, Akha Jiva. And then we will just do what we normally do, read through the passage, understand the literal meanings, and then we'll move on to our interpretation. So with that said, what I'll first do is read the passage out. And here goes then. Asa mahalla pehla, आँखां जीवा विसरे मर जाऊं, आखण औखा साचा नाम, साचे नाम की लागे भूख, उत भूखे खाए चली है दुख, सो क्यों विसरे मेरी माए, साचा साहिब साचे नाए रहाओ, साचे नाम की तिल वडियाई, आँख थके कीमत नहीं पाई, जे सब मिल के आखन पाहें, वडा न होवे काट न जाए, ना ओह मरे न होवे सोग, देंदा रहे ना झुके भोग, गुण एहो होर नाही कोय, ना को होआ ना को होय, जेवड़ आप तेवड़ तेरी दात, जिन दिन करके कीती रात, खसम विसारे ते कम जात, नानक नामे बाज सनात. Haji, so I will give you my impressions of the Shabad. The thing that struck me about this Shabad was one, the theme. I mean, thematically, not very dissimilar from the previous one that we did, Sunwada Kisav Koi, in the sense that there are quite a few lines here that again talk about the nature of reality and our inability to comprehend this reality in its fullness, no matter how hard we try. But we obviously are built in such a way that we keep trying. So there was the similarity that I picked up on. The second thing that I picked up on was the fact that the last lines he's talking about Kasam Visare Te Kamjat Nanak Name Baj Sanat. Now, Kamjat and Sanat, as far as I could tell, refer to pretty much the same thing. Kamjat is a low life in today's terms, and so is Sanat. And it occurred to me that perhaps this may be his way of explaining who a true low life is. I mean, and in those days, if we go back to the context, in the context of the caste system, so I guess the message is that your outer caste doesn't really matter. You are a kamjat if you do khasam visare. If you now visare, the literal meaning is forget. So that struck me as, I guess, the message here. Perhaps it just related to the social reality then. Uh, but let's very quickly run through the Rahao Tuk. So kyo visre meri mai, sacha sahib sache nai rahao. So here is a an assertion, a question. Why would you forget or don't forget the true one who is manifest in and because it relates to the above lines, akha jiva visre marna mar jao. So forgetting here means death, and remembering means life. I mean, he's saying akha jiva visre mar jao. So what we have to consider is what is this death that he's talking about, and what is this birth that he's talking about, and how is it related to akha? Akha is to say, to speak. So is that the literal meaning that we should take, or does it mean something else? And I would just want to leave it open to discussion. And then He goes on to say, Sache naam ki lage pukh, ut pukhe khai chaliye dukh. So, in order to remember, it seems as though we must develop a hunger, a hunger for naam, which then will put an end to your sorrows. Um, so, the question in my mind, or at least the observation in my mind, is that we would like to get more clarity on what this death is. It's clearly not physical death, and life. And what are these sorrows that he's talking about? I would be hard pressed to believe that he's talking about our day to day frustrations that we have when we don't get things that we want. So this must have, I suppose, another meaning, perhaps, but we'll see. And then in the subsequent lines, this is where I find that he is more or less saying what he did in the previous passage. Sache naam ki til vadiyai, aag thake कीमत नहीं पाई, जे सब मिलके आखन पाहे, वडा ना होवे काट ना जाए, ना ओह मरे ना होवे सोग देदा रहे, ना चूके भोग, and so on. So it, much like in the previous passage, he is trying to remind us that the expanse of Naam, Kimat na paye, Chira, we talked about Chira in the previous Shabad, which apart from a cut also means an expanse, Visthar, which is our beyond our ability to speak of. And then he also wants to underscore the fact that if we were all to speak in unison together, it would remain unaffected. It does not become big or small, nor is it affected by anything that we say. So I would like to open up uh, this discussion with the idea of trying to get behind these otherwise very common words like death, life, sorrows, and so on. What exactly is he telling us? Because uh, he repeats this sort of message quite often. That the Naam is beyond our speech. That Naam is not something that we can actually describe. And yet he is telling us that that is something we must, in some ways, um, uh, reside in or sit next to. So I want to open up the discussion really from the perspective so that we can get all of these different perspectives. I see Chetandeep. Do you want to take a stab at this first?
Hanji Viji. So, thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. And I've been thinking about this a bit today. Uh, I think, first up, what you mentioned, I agree with you, or rather, my perspective on death and uh, jiva and marna is like, again, it's in, I mean, there are different opinions, like, again, about reincarnation and Marna, Jina, and all. But I think this Shabad gives us that clarity in terms of what Guru Sahib is talking about spiritual death. Like, if I remember, as you said, then I live. And if I do not remember, I forget, then I die. So I think it introduces a very, very simple concept of life and death rather than we getting it complicated in terms of reincarnation. He's saying, well, you might be just equivalent to a dead person if you're not remembering. But some things that stood out to me in this Shabad are and uh, are like in the previous two Shabads. You're right. This is a continued theme, but something new in this Shabad that Guru Sahib introduces is Naam. Like in the previous two Shabads, I don't think he used the word Naam, and here I mean, in the first Shabad, he said, Sodar Tera Keha, and then Vadiyai Sun Vada Ke Sabko. Here he's saying, Jevad Aap Tevad Teri Daat. So he's talking about the Daat that Nirankar or Vada has given us, and that is the Naam. And by introducing this, again, he is asking this question. And I would actually like to ask you a question. Whom is he talking to in this Shabad when he says, So kyun visre meri mai? My uh, can in poetic word refer to, like he's just saying in a vernacular like hey meri maa, or it could be like meri mat, my mind or my intellect, like why do I forget? So when he says, like it's a natural question to occur when he, if he's talking, if he's in this Shabad, if he's expressing his state of mind, is he asking that, oh my intellect, why do I keep forgetting? Is Nanak expressing that? Like, why does I keep forgetting? It's a personal realization. And he also says it's very difficult, akan okha sacha now, to remember all the time. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I can only offer my thought. First off, I think the very idea of remembering, I think, shortchanges our understanding of this Shabad or of Bani in general. Simran as remembering, because to me, remembering is, how could you possibly remember something? Now, again, I've used the word something when it is not a thing. So, how do I remember something, let us say, for argument's sake, that I don't even know about, right? I mean, if someone were to come here, like Guru Nanak is saying, "So kyun visare meri mai," and I think this is something he's addressing the mind, not necessarily his own mind. I mean, a mat or mind. He's just addressing the mind because the mind has a tendency, or the mind's natural state is to be in a state of disconnect from its source, which is Nam, right? We know that from our understanding of Gurbani. So this is just a, I think, an address to the mind. It's mukhatib karna man. So I think it is not really a reflection of his own state of mind more than it is for all of us to consume. And so so the mind is being addressed for its perpetual forgetfulness, right? So it seems like when we come into this world, there is a forgetfulness that comes over us, a stupor, which is also called dvaitpa, or ignorance, or maya, or whatever you want to call it. And so the whole effort, it seems to me, is how do we awaken ourselves from this stupor of forgetfulness. But I don't think it's a matter of sort of every second remembering something, because you wouldn't be able to function. So I think remembering must have another connotation here. But to your question, I read my as the mind, or mat, which is a part of the mind. That's how I read it.
I agree with you. Remembering, I did not mean to say physical remembering, as in by speaking certain words. Yes, the word here used is akha, but I
Yeah.
think we have discussed this over and over. Like
Hmm.
we can, in short, take this remembrance to be in the presence or feel or
Yes. I bring it up for a reason, again and again, just to remind ourselves that when we use everyday words, we often, fall into this trap. So this is nothing more than just a reminder. You and I, Chetandev, have talked about this many times. So, but I think it stands repetition to remember that this remembering is not trying to remember something every. At least that's my understanding, and we'll find out what the others think. Do you have any other follow up,
uh,
Chetandeep, before I move on?
nahi Virji, maybe later.
All right. Okay. Dilpreet.
Hanji, Vaheguru Ji Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Fateh Ji.
Ji.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and others they have shared their thoughts. Uh, I was reading this one earlier today, this Shabad, just to understand uh, what Guru Sahib is trying to say. And as we have done always, that we are trying to picture what is in the mind of Guru Sahib, which he has compressed in these few lines. And we are going the reverse process. And the way I was reading this one and stopped at the Rahautuk, that is where Guru Sahib is expressing his state of mind, and the focus of this Shabad, as I think Chetan Virji said about that, is on Nam. And the Meri Maya, yes, it could be Mat. And I was thinking when I was reading it that in the poetic sense, Guru Sahib this is just a poetry. He's expressing his state of mind. And I thought, is my perception, maybe I may be off here. I remember when I was little and my mom will take me in Shimla. I used to live there. And when we got something excited about something new, and we would have full confidence in what we know, full faith in what we just thought, and we'll say, oh, this is what I think. And Mary Mai, I think Guru Sahib is trying to express his, like a child, excitement and faith and belief and confidence that, oh, gee, that Sacha Sahib, his name is something very important, which we should not be away from that. And I think this is what he's trying to communicate here, because this is Guru Sahib has written these shabads, and then Guru Arjan Sahib has put these shabads for us to draw lessons from these things. When I look at that, Guru Sahib is very excited about that, because maybe he discovered that Ki Akal took the Naam is something which we shouldn't go far away from that. And then in the beginning, he jumps here, akha jiya visre mar jao, akhan okha sachana. When you say akhan okha sachana, basically he's telling us, it's not that it's saying that it's difficult to say, it is saying that it's very challenging to acquire now. And many places in Gurbani says, now jada haga, you don't get it. It is given to you. It comes from his blessing, from his grace. So akhan okha sacha, now what he's trying to say is not that it's difficult to say. It is difficult to get that one. And for that, you have to seek grace. For that grace, you have to be humble. You have to get rid of ego. That is how you get akhan okha sacha now. Then he says that akha jiva, here's spiritual life. If I get that one, I'm spiritually alive. And if I'm not that, then I'm entangled in the worldly affairs. Marjao is basically I'm in this worldly attachments, and that's what I'm going to be there. But if I get the now, what is happening is that I get spiritual enlightenment, and but it's very difficult to get. This is what he's trying to do. But then he says, Sachi naam ki lage bhuk ut bhuke ka chaliye dukh. That the very craving for this, because so powerful, Guru Sam, they have discovered that is very powerful. The very thought of that, focus on that, you forget about this worldly entanglements. It's not dukh. Dukh is not something you are in pain or something. I think he's just trying to say that the worldly entanglements don't bother you. Once you're focused on that, yes, these things are going to be there, but your focus is going to stay on Naam. You want to get it because it's such a powerful thing. Nobody ke sachi Naam ki tilwadi ai, that even the epsilon of that Naam he's talking about cannot be measured, cannot be, there's no yardstick to measure. And even if people get together, they try to say what it is. It is a permanent thing. It doesn't change. It doesn't go up and down. People can talk about all those things. So these are
ठीक
my some of the thoughts, but I will leave it here, and then maybe in the
ठीक है
second
जी,
one we can talk more.
थैंक यू जी, जी थैंक्स फॉर योर पर्सपेक्टिव। हाँ जी, दिलप्रीत
Can you
सिंह जी।
hear me, Vijay?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
Okay, good. So I think it is well said. And what I was thinking today was that word Naam is used more than the number of Shabads which we have in Guru Granth Sahib, because it is in every Shabad or most of the Shabads, or it comes multiple times in some Shabad. So as it is already said that he is talking to himself, he is questioning himself, he is asking questions to his mind, or he's trying to convince his mind on the same thing applies to us. And then I was looking at that who is death, what does Gurbani say that who is dead. And when I searched for the word mirtak, so Gurbani, there are multiple examples which are coming, which is saying antar gyan na ayo mirtak hai sansar. So again, Gurbani is not talking about the physical death. Gurbani is talking about the mental death. So there are some more example. Mirtak kahiye nanaka je preet nahi bhagwant. Again, those who are not attached, or those who are not understanding the universal truth, he is calling them mirtak. And then mirtak de sad sang vihona, again, who is not part of sad sangat. So if we take the example of mritak, it is not the physical death. It is, in Punjabi we can say, the jamir da mar jana, or the consciousness is dead, or we don't have the courage to stand up for the universal truth, and we shy by it or we move away from it. And then again, this last month of December is the month of full of shahidis, and that is where what I was struggling, that what did Guru Gobind Singh Ji did wrong, or what did he do that he has to pay the price where his 7 and 9 years old kids were also had to go through, and they were also killed in a way which is a shocking way, right? And then they were also not left. So what did he do wrong? And what did fifth guru did wrong, or what did ninth guru did wrong, or what did the six whose band jinana kataya, or they have gone through so much, or they were killed in different ways, what did they do wrong? Then I see that they were doing this part, they were talking this akhan okha sacha now. What, why it is hard, why it is not easy? Because you have to stand by the truth, and standing by the truth, or standing by the side of the wrong, on the right side, and saying no, or saying that you are wrong in front of the leader or the king, is that why it is okha, that you have to pay the price for it? It is not simple to say. So what did they do? They did not accept the false system which ruler was saying. They stood for the truth, and they were out of the params. They did not accept the falsehood of Brahmins and Kajis. So that is what they were saying when they opposed that, and they when they talked about the truth, and they had to pay the price. So it is hard, it is difficult, it is something close to impossible. So that is how I take this, that it is akhan okha sacha now. And for us also, it is, if we are not implementing Gurbani's teaching in our day to day life and actions, then that is where the real thing is, and that is what is the hardest thing, and that is what Guruji is calling is as Okha, I think. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Ji. Thank
Can I
you,
ask
Ji.
a question on that, please?
Haji, Haji, please.
Can I?
Haji, please go ahead.
Anji, Gurpreet ji, thank you very much for your perspective. I have a little slightly different way of thinking on what you just said. When you say the Gurus of God, that little children killed there, and how much pain he went through, I think we are using our own yardstick, and we are living in attachment. And Guru Sahib was well above it. He transcended these types of attachments. I was listening to somebody yesterday, and they say why he could do that, because he was not embroiled in what we are talking about. So when we use our yardstick to make an assessment and say that it is difficult to say sacha now, it's not sacha now, is not the truth here. Sacha now is basically something which comes in and it's given, it's unknown. This is what they say, sachi naam ki tilvadi. We don't know, even we don't know even the epsilon of that, but we claim that sacha now is the truth. No, it's not. It is very clearly saying sachi naam ki tilvadi, aakh se keemat nahi pai. But then when we use what you use as yardstick, I have little problem with that, because we bring gurus up to our level and try to make assessments. So there's I differ a little bit. Thank you.
No, no, Virji, one thing, okay? I never used the word that Guru Sahib went through the pain. I never used the word that they regretted it. What I said was that why it is hard to say the sacha now, that you have to pay the price. That is the point I was making. I never used the word that Guru Sahib went through pain. I never used the word that he regretted it, or the Sikhs who went through this regretted their decision. No, I never used those words, right? What I said was that it why it is hard, because you have to pay a hard price. So we shy away from these things in our day to day life, and we don't want to pay the price, or we don't want to face the consequences. So that is why it is hard, that sometimes you have to pay the hard consequences. That's what I meant.
Haji,
Thank you.
Haji, thank you, Dilpreet, for the clarification. And in fact, that is what I picked up from what you said. Let's see here. Gurjeet Singh Virji,
हाँ जी भैया जी.
is Naomi Osaka still winning? I'm rooting for her.
Yes. Uh, yeah, we can. I can give you what I have understood. It's quite a difficult Shabad because it changes. But one thing which I learned is give you the best definition of Shabad Guru, which is in I think stanza number 3. So anyway, I think he's continuing from the last one where he says, Nanak Satya Savaran Hara. If we accept that such is the only entity who can establish us in such khand, then we need to associate with the such. The first entity in us which has to associate is our mind. The mind, after acceptance, I think, is saying this that akha jiva visarai mar jaun. I think we have discussed it's not a physical death. It's talking about, there's another one. A lot of time it comes. There are a lot of other shabas which give you this sort of indication. Akha is to explain actually. It's not only any chanting or something. It has to be explained. The Naam is in a form of text to us. We need to understand. And it has to be explained in association with your inner consciousness. So the outer one is saying that I need to say this, but we have to be in oneness. If I lose my oneness, I can't explain it. And that's the death for me uh, towards my inner consciousness. If I'm with my inner consciousness, I'm living. And if I'm leaving my inner consciousness, I'm thinking, Virji has given few shabads about Dilpreet Virji, how what physical and this non-physical death is. But then he, I think, raises a question, Akhan Okha Sacha now. Because the Sacha now puts a pressure on you first. Before it will burn anyone else's house, it will burn your own. That's where the problem is. We quote this Jay ko bole sach, kura jal javi. It's not that we are trying to, criticize someone else outside. Even when we are speaking the truth, whosoever, like Bhagats have spoken, they have to kill all the Maya, the Gyan within themselves. That is the hardest part in saying the such, because we want to still retain whatever we gained at some stage. It is that part of our consciousness, the relearning, which is, I think, that's what he's trying to say, Sache Naam Kila Ge. But he says, still, if someone is hungry for Sacha Naam, and that Pukh will ultimately dissolve all your problems. So at this stage, the mind is not agreeing to go for the Sacha Naam because it knows that I will have to lose my own identity first. So I think that's the problem. Shokya Visra Meri Mai, still this enlightened outer consciousness is telling to his buddhi, because it has also come in Hari ke naam bitombal jaun, tu visre tad hi mar jaun. Tu is still the inner consciousness. So Sokyum Visre Meri Mai is an enlightened mind is saying, because he's learned from his wisdom, he says, Sacha Sahib, the Shabad Guru Sache Nai is always doing justice. We have never seen he is doing injustice. It's in the end we have to be one with the Shabad Guru. Then he says, Sachinam ki tilvadiyai, even all those, so many compositions have been written from past till now. Even Gurbani says, Aag thake, everyone has tried, Keemat nahi pai, you could never buy. Its as entity is overpriced. Whatever we give, we only have a mind to give, still you can't buy. It becomes his kirpa, then only we can be one with him. Jaisa milke akhan pae. If we all are trying to say he's bigger, he doesn't get bigger with our sort of praise. We have to do the praise so that our mind is subdued. He doesn't like a praise, whether you praise him or not, he still gives you. What he clears. ਵੱਡਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਘਾਟ ਨਾ ਜਾਏ. Now he clears. I think to me this is the most crucial part and a very composed sort of very limited words and explaining too much. Now mare na hove. So he's talking about the Shabad Guru. We go through reincarnation, but that Ajuni, which is explained in the Jap, who is the main entity, who is running the show through Shabad, is never die and never has any sog or sorrow or mourning. Denda rahe, that's his duty to all the jeeves in the world, wherever they are. Not only in our 9 continents, but wherever there is a sort of earth or something, he's giving. Denda rahe na chuke pog. That's what he always do. And then he says, Gune ho, that's the one and the only one in the whole universe. There is no one like him. What he wants to say, I think he's also trying to say that even, we say Brahma gives, this gives, that gives. He's trying to say, no, it's the only one, the Shabad Guru, who gives it. And then he says, Nako Hoa, he is never born and he will never be born. So anyone who is coming in incarnation is not a Guru. That's what the main point is. Anyone who has come is a Guru or Satgur, and then he attains the Mukti and become one with the Guru. And then he says, Jevad Aap. How big is the Shabad Guru? You can only see him from outside. His actions, Jevad Aap, Tevad Teri Daat, Jindin Karke Kiti Raat. The day and night is running the whole system of this universe. If there is only day, then also we grow nothing. If there is only nights, then we can't also. So everything is associated with his wisdom, and he has created such a massive universe and controlling it and is feeding everyone. Kasam Visarante comes out. Anyone who forgets him is should be named as a lower caste, as you have a caste system. He is actually the real lower caste, physically, not physically, but mentally. Nanak Name Basnath, because without the name, the wisdom doesn't grow into such kind. So this was my intake. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you for the discussion. I want to open it up to anyone who might have any follow-up observations. Let's start with Chetandeep. Let me just do the round again. Chetandeep, do you have any follow-ups?
Hanji Veerji, I have three things to say. So the first thing what I heard from
Is this an observation or a question?
the first is an observation. The next two are questions. So, but these are the questions to everybody, not necessarily Veerji. But first one is an observation on what he said.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard from him is akha here means to explain, and he made a comment saying naam is given to us in the form of text, or naam exists in the form of text to us, which I disagree with. I don't. I mean, from what we read in Gurbani, Jeta Gita Teta now, and it has come many times. I don't think naam is in the form of text for us. I would like to disagree there. And the two questions that I have, and these are for everybody, is the first is I've been thinking about this line, "Sache naan ki lage bhook." So my question would be, ki, how to be hungry? Bhook sanu kis tarah lage? How should we develop this hunger, or like the bhook that Guru Sahib is talking about? And the second question is, I think we all agreed on the first two lines, or at least the first line, "Akha jiva visarai mar jao." I heard everybody in unison. Uh, Please correct me if I'm wrong. That the jiva and marna here is the spiritual death. So if we all agree that the akha jiva and marna here is spiritual death, then can we reject the concept of reincarnation as it is popularly known?
Okay. Is that all, or do you have more to say?
Maybe these are the two questions.
Okay. So your first observation, I'm going to direct to Gurjeet Singh Virji so that he can respond, since you've expressed a disagreement. So Gurjeet Singh Virji, Chetandeep is differing with you on the fact that Naam is given to us as just text. He is asserting that a reading of the text would tell us that Jeta Kita Teta now, which suggests that Naam is all around and within and without. So our response to Chetandeep.
Ji, Jeta Kita Teta now is about Gurbani, that within Gurbani is all the praises about the Naam. So and there are two Naams in Gurbani. One is clearly visible, which we can comprehend, but the other one will be given to us once we have comprehended this one. This is just to make the inner and outer consciousness in oneness. When you are in oneness, then Parmeshwar gives his naam to you. So there are two naams. This is in the explanation form. We have the akhara. We have done that paudi of akhara. Akhari likhan bolan bani. Akhara sir sanjog bakhani. So this, whatever is explained in Gurbani in words, that helps the outer consciousness to develop a some sort of picture that what the spirit is all about, who has attained some sort of success, what they have done. If we think it is a true text, then there is no problem. We can't develop that whatever hunger. But at this stage, our mind is sometimes yes and no. We have not fully committed. I'm within that group too. Don't think that I'm outside. So the mind is unstable. Sometimes it does accept, but sometimes it doesn't. So this is the main problem. But whosoever is writing this, they are instructed. They are much different to us. So we need to align with them. That's
ठीक है
what
जी.
my observation
Thank you,
is.
Ji. So I think Chetandeep, let me, for my own clarity as well. So evidently, the Naam exists at multiple levels, just as consciousness does. And I think what I heard was that um, there is a passage that we have to traverse to get to a certain threshold or a certain point, and then Naam is given to you. I mean, that Bani is very clear about. Naam comes through grace. It doesn't just come to you. I mean, you just can't grab it. So I think what Virji here said was that there are levels, and that it comes to us at the lowest level in a text that we then kind of use as a how-to, I guess, like a how-to manual, and follow the instructions and then get to a certain level of consciousness. He calls it oneness. And then from there, grace, I suppose, will follow. So I'm going to open up the other questions to the forum. Dilpreet Singh ji, let me come to you. Sache naam ki lage pook. So he's saying, how do we get this book? But before I give it to you, can I just insert? I think the answer is pretty simple from a Gurbani perspective. The only method is Sangat, because Sangati is to move together, Sang and Gati. And collaborative learning, I'm convinced, is the tool of learning for Gurmat. So that was my answer to you, Chetandeep. Now to you, Dilpreet.
Hanji Virji, good, interesting question. Okay. So I would like to share one other thing before I jump into this. See, again, I was thinking as Gurjeet Virji touched it, that we have to convince our mind. So now that is what was I was thinking, that what is hard, or why it is hard. So the battle needs to be fought within. So fighting a battle or fighting something or changing something change is always hard. I think that is where Guruji is taking us, that bande khoj dil har roj. And then he also gives example that hak paraya nanka, usur us guy, that okay, these type of actions are wrong. So then with this knowledge we have to fight the battles within our mind, and day to day we have to fight. That is why it is so hard, and sometimes we have to pay the higher price even with our life. So those are the examples. Now the hunger, right? See, once the understanding will come, and once you understand something completely, as we have talked, by the grace or by implementing the knowledge, and once you understand it, you agree with the right thing, then only the hunger will come. Until unless you completely agree or understand it, that hunger will not come, because our mind will keep bringing lot of excuses, that okay, if you do this, then this might happen, that might happen. But if you completely grasp the truth, then only you can overcome those things. I think that is what the hunger is. And then you will be always looking for the same thing. And that is where the examples of Guru's life or other six lives motivate us. And the Bani, there are two shabads, one from Kabir Sahib and one from Baba Farid ji, where he says that Kowari ਤਾਂ ਚਾਓ ਵਿਆਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਅਬ ਇਹੋ ਪਛੋਤਾਓ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਵਾਰੀ ਨਾ ਥੀਏ, because now there is no going back. And then there is one from Kabir Sahab also, where he says, when I was not aware of anything, that time I used to sleep peacefully, and now when I have learned this or understand this, and now it is a problem for myself, because I keep working for it, the hunger is there, and though lag lagni ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, I think that is what where Guruji is alluding towards that. Thank you.
Haji, thank you, and very well put. And I think Chetandeep, again, the arena for all this, for us at least, is the Sangat. Let me go to Ranavirji. Ranavirji, you've heard the conversation, you've heard Chetandeep's questions and so on. Any thoughts?
Yes. Thank you very much. I have three observations to share.
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਤਰਾ ਹੀ ਨੇ
Hanji?
ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਤਰਾ ਹੀ observations ਨੇ
Oh, okay, let me start with the first one. Chetanbiji that said that about the question about the first line, that there's a consensus that we are talking spiritual enlightenment and spiritual death. And he was saying that should we put aside the concept of reincarnation? My answer to that is we are comparing apples and oranges. When we look at the first line, that line deals with what happens in this world. Okay, spiritual death takes place here, spiritual death takes place, and your enlightenment takes place here. Reincarnation is talking about a different domain, that what happens if we physically die. So I don't think these we can just put it aside and say reincarnation is not there. So that is my take on that one, first point. The second point is Gurjeet Virji said, and I think other people agreed, the Naam comes at different level. First level comes, and over time it gets to different levels. The question which comes up then, that Naam is so fragile that if it comes at lower level, that other levels are, if we don't get to the other levels, is going to dissipate. I thought Naam is so powerful. This is what the Shabad is talking about. If it comes, it's not going to go. It is going to take you up to high levels. So when we say it comes at different levels, I think it differently. It cannot be different levels. When it comes there, it will take you up. It's not going to let you fall down. And that's the power of Naam. So when Gurjeet Veer, the other people are saying it comes to level one, I tend to think differently on that. And the next question is, Gurjeet Veer was talking about now Marina Hove Sog, Denda Rehena Chuke Pog, Gun Eo Ho Nai Ho. I think here we just took a we transited to different areas. Guru Sahib is talking about Naam, and when I was trying to understand that now Marina Hove Sog, I think he's talking not about Data Karpuk, he still focuses on Naam. Now Marina Hove Sog, Denda Rena Chukepok, that Naam is so powerful. But when Gurjeet Viji was talking, and my question, this question is to him, why did you think that here we are talking about a Karpuk, not the same thread of idea which Guru Sahib is talking about Naam? Now Marina Haves of Dendai and Chikapog, everything is Gun Eo Ho Naiko. This is the key crux of the whole existence is Naam. Because God cannot be there and we are connected to God through Naam. So Naam is the only thing for us to focus on. So I will just leave that question to Guruji Virji.
Hanji, thank you ji. Hanji Gurjeet Singh Virji, there's a question for you here.
Hanji Virji.
Hanji, ਸੁਣ ਲਿਆ ਨਾ
I think
ਤੁਸੀਂ?
in Japji we have been explained the 5 khands. That's how you slowly, I think that's what you said, that's different level. You start with Taram Khand and then Gyan Khand. It grows like that. And ultimately says Sach Khand Vasen Rankar. That's the last level of it that you have attained from the first one, progress through. And it starts with a text in the, as you have very rightly mentioned, do's and don'ts. That's from where we start. That's a Gyan Khand, Taram Khand, then Gyan Khand. Even in Gyan Khand, he says, Kete Brahme Kart Kariye. He just puts a question that there are more than one. There has to be something which has to go further than that. And Og Denwala is the only Shabad Guru. We are a part of that consciousness, but at what level we are, our enlightenment depends. Ultimately, He is the one where we have to approach. But we are slowly approaching from the lower level and we are slowly getting to the next level, to the next level. And I'll say about the Pooh was also mentioned that means Kabir ji has said that Jis marne te jag dare mere man anand. He says people are fearful about the mind's death while living in this because the mind is full of ego. They don't want their ego to be subdued, but I have subdued and my mind has attained that oneness. So this was how we have to pursue that. That's the real Anand coming from, and that statement is ultimately true, and that's how we have to align ourselves. So that's what my observation is.
Thank you, Ji. Ji, Kulwant Kaur Bhen ji, do you wish to add anything further? Okay, she's not around. Okay, Eileen, we are coming pretty close to the end, and I wanted to circle back to you to see if you have a thought or something you might want to say based on what you've heard.
Thank you, Virgi. I don't really have anything to add. I think everyone covered the comments I was contemplating. I want to think a little bit more about that point about um, sort of a metaphor around reincarnation or kind of physical realm versus spiritual realm. So that's something I think I'll just take away. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
All right, very good. I just wanted to actually comment on Chetandeep's question about can we discard the notion of reincarnation. My response to it is very simple. It is, why are we so categorical in wanting to either reject it or accept it? I think we can just leave it as it is in a state of uncertainty. We don't know. I mean, that is one position that one can take, right? So now we have about 10 minutes left. If anyone wants to make a last observation, I'll open up the floor to anyone who wishes to.
Yes, I have a
Hanji,
question for Gurjeet Virji.
ji.
Gurjeet Virji, are you saying that in Karam Khand we get Naam too, and Sharam Khand we get Naam too, and Gyan Khand we get Naam too, or Naam comes only when we are in the Sach Khand?
Gyan Khand, from Gyan Khand, you are increasing your Gyan and you're reutilizing it. फिर चढ़े दिवस गुरबाणी गावे, we did the Shabad. Although you are fully enlightened inside, but you are still within the circle of Gurbani. You are further filtering it, you are further going deep and deep. And ultimately, a stage come when he will shower his mercy. But there are a lot of Shabads, even Kabir says, Roda Hero Batka. Then he says, Tu, whatever, Tarni me khe. So it's slowly, increasing your level of wisdom to become at par at which he will, whatever, put his mercy on you. And that's how it's a gradual process. As written, I haven't experienced myself. I just say whatever I have read. In theory, it says it's how gradually you advance. And this is Gyan Padarat uh, will come first, and then you get the Nam Padarat. So these are the two different stages through which first one will kill your mind, the second one will give you life into such kind. Once you are dead, you need to live again. Maran Jivan ki soji hui. So he's taking you through that death process, which he says, Mere man Anand. Then the mind is getting into a state of Anand, and then he gets into a state of Puran Anand or Mahanand when he gets that Naam from Sachkhand, which is the actual Naam. That's my uh, you can say observation on after studying this much of Gurban.
So actual Naam is what we are talking about here, because there's only one Naam. There's not different Naams, only actual Naam.
So, Virji, can I just interject a little bit? I think what is trying to be said, if and you can correct me, Virji, Gurjeet, Virji, is that it is the mind that is ascending to through different thresholds. It's Naam everywhere, whether it is here, there, everywhere. It's Naam, right? It is our mind that has to ascend through various thresholds that in Japji are listed as, Taram, Karam, Gyan Khand, and so on and so forth. So it suggests that, and then even in Japji, there's this whole body that we discussed here locally on the Panch, which again is a threshold, Panche Pavet Dirgayaman, which is like a threshold. So I think the passage that is being traversed is the minds, not Naam. But the ever expanding mind ultimately reaches a point where Naam is then given as a matter of grace. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you do as a human, we are told you're not going to grab Naam. Naam will come to you.
I totally agree with you. Exactly, I have the same perspective what you just said.
Yeah.
The point I'm making here, Virji, is because it was said Naam comes on level 1. My point is once Naam comes to you, mind is of course traversing all these different stages,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But once Naam comes there, there's no level, then it becomes part of you.
No, it's like plunging into an ocean, right? There's no level, but you first plunge in and then you go deeper and deeper. And then there is no end to it. There's simply no end that we can conceive of through our minds, right? But yes, I think you get the point. You get the drift of what is being said, right? Anybody else? One last call before we call it a night.
Virji, I have a question. We have coded akha sacha now, right? It's difficult. It's akha, and we also said akha is not speaking or like Simran or the words we speak. So then, how to make this akha sokha? What is the tool given to us?
Any takers for that question? What is the tool for making okha sokha?
But one thing I'll point out, which I missed before, that akha means that it can't be a simple word to repeat. It's
Yeah.
also an indication.
Yes.
One part is it's not I'm covering everything, but you are
We
if
lost
a
him.
parrot can repeat a word, it cannot be a sokha. Whatever Guru Nanak is mentioning is explaining it to the depth, and then also not only explaining it but experiencing within you too. It's not that avarupadesha aap na kare. It's I think another difficulty level is there, that you have
So
to
what is
obey yourself.
the tool? What is the tool? I mean, Chetandeep
Tool,
wants to leave tonight with a tool in his hand.
tool is if you
And
accept हर की whatever we say सतगुर की बाणी सत सत कर जानो गुर सिखो. That is the tool, I think.
So the other Kabir Sahib says it nicely. जिन्हू किछ जानिया नहीं तिन सुख नींद बिहाए हमहू जो बूझा बूझना तो पूरी परी बलाए. So the easiest way is who don't understand can
Yes,
enjoy it. Okay?
ignorance is bliss.
yes,
Yes, that's
yes.
that's
Yes.
what Kabir Sahib is saying there. Okay, हमहू जो बूझा बूझना तो पूरी परी बलाए.
So Chetandeep, do you see how difficult it is because you haven't gotten an answer?
ठीक है वीर जी.
Chalo, theek hai ji. I think with that we'll call it a night. Thank you very much for an interesting conversation. We'll meet next week. With that said, Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa,
Why
Vaheguru Ji ki
Why
Fateh.
good.
Ji ki fateh.